How y'all doing this morning? Yeah, y'all give it up for the band. How good are they every Sunday? Good job. Thank you guys for leading us, and you guys are going to see them again in a moment. We've got a great service in store for you as always. So hey, we're glad you're here. I see some new faces. We are glad that you chose to come this morning. So like I said, we've got a lot planned for you, a great service in store, but here's the deal. Usually this is the time where I have a game for you. But I don't have a game for you this morning. I know you're like, what? I know, but there's a reason why. Bringing back my boy Carl. Yes. Yeah, so if you have no idea who Carl is this crazy dude. He's very interesting. And what we learned from him a few months ago was how to speak Gen Z. So we learned how to speak Gen Z. Well, if you didn't know, I almost said I'm pregnant. My wife is pregnant. So we are about to have a child, and Carl actually just had his first child. He had a daughter. I'm about to have a daughter. So because of that, I've been reading books, talking to other parents about like how to be a good dad. And so, of course, I had to see if Carl had any good advice on that. So instead of learning about Gen Z, did y'all know the next generation behind y'all do y'all know what it's called? Gen Alpha. So let's see what Carl has to say about teaching Gen Alpha a few things.
What up, fam jam and hammies, and what up, little turdsicle minnows of this great ocean we call life, aka Gen Alpha. She's a turdsicle because she's always taking a dookie. I'm Brock, and this little chubster, Pure Lit Cheerio, aka the joy of my life, is my daughter/compadre, Ada. Short for A, that's a fat fit because she's always decked out in some swag hat threads, dressed to the nine. Sheesh. Anyways, the Gen Z generation is starting to become adults, which means they're old people. But old people are funny and can fart whenever they want, so that's chill. But some of us are starting to have little kiddos, aka Gen Alpha. And it's our responsibility to teach these little milk munchers the proper way of life, and most importantly, the proper name of things. So let's black eyed pea this, bar mitts, and get this party started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Antique Audible. Old people flashlight. Butt stump. Butt bench. Or sometimes where daddy sleeps. If mommy gets mad at him. Screenshot. Pixar. Bark stick. Selfie. Moo food. Coolio closet. Or my ex's heart. Because it's cold. I think she just took a dookie.
Yep, I have a lot to teach my daughter, so whether it's butt stumps or Pixar's, I'm excited. So thanks for watching that video. We have a lot going on here at DSM, so I want to let you guys know what we're doing this week and the weeks after that. So, of course, we've got Ultimate Frisbee at 2 o'clock today. We go to Shamrock Park, and it's a ton of fun. It's a beautiful day out there, so even if you don't know how to play, come out, bring a friend, and just enjoy the weather. It's a good time. So we would love for you guys to come play Ultimate at Shamrock at 2 o'clock today. Wednesday Night Lights, we're continuing Wednesday Night Lights, and this is going to be the last week that we actually are going to meet at the Worship Center patio and be playing games and hanging out and doing Bible study outside. So that's a lot of fun on Wednesday night. And then the biggest thing that you've probably heard about is the fall retreat coming up. We're super excited about the fall retreat. It's October 22nd through the 24th, and sign up is live. So go to dogwood.church/students and get yourself signed up. First of all, it's the retreat. It's one of the best, most fun times of the year. But here's another way that I think you guys should go ahead and sign up quickly, because we are actually in what we call early registration right now. That ends at the end of this month. And if you sign up during early registration, you'll be entered into a drawing for a $75 Best Buy gift card. So I know you guys like getting stuff from Best Buy, so sign up for that. And then the other big thing we're doing right now is starting today, and then you have until September 26th. So the next 2 weeks, we're going to have something called the Fall Retreat T-shirt design contest. So here's the deal. You guys are going to come up with a design that is going to come up on our Fall Retreat T-shirt. And so to give you like a little bit of help on some ideas, our theme is called Living Stones. Can y'all say Living Stones? Living Stones. All right, that's our theme. We're going to be doing 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. So if you want to read that, get some creative ideas from that passage, that's what our theme's going to be. And so if you can come up with a design, email it to one of the Dogwood staff members. We're going to look at all those, and we're going to pick the winner, and that's what's going to be our T-shirt for the retreat. And then if you win the retreat T-shirt design contest, you get to go to the retreat for free. So pretty awesome deal there. I'm not very creative. I know you guys are creative. So come up with a really cool design. We'd love to see that. Again, Living Stones is the theme for that. And Fall Retreat sign-up is live, so get on it. All right, it's going to be a good time. We have a lot of fun things going on there. So that's it for this week and some things coming up. I'm going to go ahead and pray. And so if you guys can, Belle, you're right beside me. Belle's praying. You snuck up on me. I know, right? All right, Belle's going to pray. So if you guys can bow your heads, take it away, Belle.
Please bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Lord, I pray that you just allow all of us to open our hearts and our ears to what Mark is going to speak today, Lord. And I pray that this week is just good for everybody and that you're listening to everybody's prayers, Lord. We know you are, and we know you have a plan for us. In your name I pray, amen. Is Mark teaching?
Good morning, everyone. I welcome y'all to stand and worship with us. Also, yesterday was Savannah Clark's birthday, so make sure to shoot her a text saying happy birthday. Who am I that the highest would I was lost, but he brought me. He's the Lord. Oh, he's the Who the sun sets free, always free. welcome you guys and thank you guys so much for being here. I know that during the school year, our schedules are insanely busy and it can be really hard to get up early in the morning to be here, but we see you and we appreciate you and we love you so much.
All right, all right. What a great job the band did leading us in worship. Thank you, band. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Mark Smith, and I'm one of the student ministers here at Dogwood Student Ministry. Thank you for joining us, whether you are online or in person. We are happy that you're here. So let's jump right in. Guys, I have something to tell you about life, and that is that whether it be your life or my life, our lives can change on a dime, like in an instant. Everything can change in the matter of like a nanosecond. Everything can change. So just last week, I was in my parents' house. I was in the back of my dad's truck, and we were shoveling mulch. If you can picture it with me, the truck is backed up to the edge of the street, and right off the edge of the tailgate, it's just this huge drop down, and we're throwing mulch off to keep the erosion down or whatever. And my dad's like, hey, Mark, be really careful because the mulch is wet and the tailgate is slippery. And he's like, I already slipped, so you be careful. And my dad probably thinks that I didn't listen to him, but I did. I was being careful, but there I was. I was throwing mulch far and wide, doing my thing. And guys, I got to tell you, I actually didn't slip. Something probably even worse happened. So at this one throw, this one step, somehow, and I don't even remember the instant. I just remember what happened afterwards. Somehow I stepped right off the back of the truck. And I mean, I went down. That was the only way to go. And I'm not a ninja, but I know that if you fall and you hit, one of the ways you might be able to buffer your fall is to roll. Just sort of absorb the momentum and some forward motion, or in this situation, some backward motion. So that's what I did. I fell off, I hit, and I just started rolling. And I rolled, and I rolled, and I rolled. And when I finally came to, it was sort of like taking inventory, right? If you ever fall and you sort of take inventory, I'm like, okay, is there any warm liquid running down my body somewhere? Am I bleeding? No, check. Is there any sharp pain? Did I break something? I don't think so. No, check. Am I conscious? Yes. Do I know where I am? Yes, I'm still in my parents' yard, and I'm not in heaven at the pearly gates, so I think I might still be alive. Guys, I was somehow okay. I had like 5 little dings here or there, but I was okay. But it was a near-death experience. Like I could have been gone. And this would have been a different morning. I'm not saying you guys would have been super sad, but I mean, it would have been a different morning for you guys and for my family and others and people that I know. Could have been that quick. So today we're going to talk about that a little bit, how things can change quickly. So we're going to continue in our series called Welcome Home. If you remember last week, Mr. John Claiborne walked us as we're going around the house. He walked us and hung out with us in the living room. He reminded us that in the early church, the early Christians, the first Jesus followers, came together often, and they hung out in one of those living rooms, and they worshiped together, and they learned about Jesus together, and they read the Bible together, and they sang together, and they broke bread together. They observed the Lord's Supper, that ceremonious remembrance of Jesus' sacrifice, and they ate together, and they prayed together, and he challenged us with the prayer journal challenge to go to our life groups, keep track of our prayer requests and praises until we graduate forever. That's where we were last week. So this week, guys, I'm actually not even sure where we're at, to be honest. We might be in a living room of some sort this week. We might be in the attic. We might be in what they would then call like an upper room sort of place. I'm not sure exactly where we are, but I can tell you that in that room this week for our talk, we are in the window. The window. First, before I explain that, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Bible is full of some crazy stories. You may think, oh, it's just a book of rules or whatever. It is not. It is rich. It's got some funny stuff in there. It's got some scary stuff. It's got some big stuff. It's got some crazy stories. And today we're going to find ourselves in one of those stories. So let me set it up for you. Do you guys know who Paul is? Paul, the Apostle Paul, sent by God into the world to plant churches and to tell the word about Jesus. The Apostle Paul was really like kind of our model missionary. And that meant he was an early church leader. He would go around and he would plant a church in a place. And he would raise up leaders and train them and teach them how to live and how to do it. And then he would be like, okay, you got it. And he would go and he would do another one. And he would send back emissaries or representatives and letters to take care of those churches. So that's who this Paul gets. So Paul finds himself in this city called Troas, in a place called Macedonia, which is kind of north of modern-day Greece somewhere. So he's in Troas, and he's planted a church there, okay, and he's done his thing, and he's going to leave the next day, the scripture says that we're about to read. And so he's got one more chance, one more night to tell them and to teach them everything he can teach them, to impart all of his wisdom on them. And so it says in the Bible that he keeps on talking until well past midnight, actually. And there's a young man there. His name is Eutychus. Can you say that for me? Eutychus. I'm not sure if that's exactly how we say it because it's an ancient name. It's an ancient language, but it's probably close. Eutychus. And this guy, Eutychus, is probably your age. He might even be a little younger. And he is sitting in a window in this room where Paul is talking. Why was he in the window? I don't know. The scripture doesn't tell us exactly why he was in the window. Maybe it was crowded. Maybe it was hot up there. Maybe they were just out of chairs. Maybe they just ran out, and so he had to sit in the window like some of you folks in the back. Sorry. Maybe. So there's this one little clue in a verse that says, and it's kind of a weird verse. It says, we were in this room, Paul was talking, and there were many lamps burning. It's like, why did you tell us there were many lamps burning? We're going to read that in a minute. And so maybe it was fumey from the lamps, or maybe it made it hot. Maybe Eutychus liked living on the edge. Just wanted to be different. He was a young person, so he was just sitting. I don't know why he was sitting in the window, but I do know this. Paul was talking on and on, and Eutychus starts to nod off. So first of all, I want to insert this in here. There's biblical precedent for a preacher, for a speaker to talk on and on. So just in case I ever do that, probably already have, I can just go back to this verse and say, Paul did it, I can do it. But no, they say. So poor Eutychus is in the window. He wants to be there, but he starts nodding off. You've been there, right? Maybe you're there right now. If you're there right now, wake up. Wake up. We got something to say. He starts to fall asleep. And actually, the Bible kind of describes it. And I love this because this is the gospel writer Luke who's writing Acts. And I love this because he kind of calls Paul out. And he almost says, not literally, but he basically, this is my interpretation, he basically says that Paul is droning on and on. And so Eutychus falls asleep right there in our story, right there in our Bible in Acts chapter 20. So we're going to read that right now. Some of it's going to be recapping, and then we're going to get to what happens next. So Acts chapter 20, verses 7 through 12. So here we go. It's going to be on the screen. So here we go. On the first day of the week, we came together to break bread, to do the Lord's Supper and eat together. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight. You already kind of feel the jab from Luke right there. Kept on talking until midnight. I don't know about you, but when I'm leaving the next day to go somewhere, like I'm not still teaching until midnight or whatever. Like I'm packing, I'm sleeping, having a party, seeing my friends one last time. He's still teaching, still talking. There were many lamps. Here's this weird verse. I don't know why they tell us this. There were many lamps in the upstairs room where we were meeting. Oh, thank you. Okay. So yeah, again, I don't know if it was hot, I don't know if it was fumey, but seated in a window was a young man named Eutychus, our protagonist, who was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. This is hilarious. It is as a speaker, but Paul's droning on and on. And then when Eutychus, it says, when he was sound asleep, listen to this. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground. What? From the third story. And was picked up dead. It's like he falls out of the window, this boy, and was picked up dead. Cliffhanger, like what happens? Well, I don't mean to say this is funny, haha. Obviously, this is very sad, but this is just a crazy story. So Paul's response to me is funny, weird. It's nuts. So Paul went down, it says. So he goes down, you picture this, they're 3 stories up. So he goes down a ladder or stairs, I don't know, he goes down. This is what Paul does. He throws himself on the man and puts his arms around him, on the young man. Okay, Paul, wait a second. First aid for trauma. Don't throw yourself on top of the person. That's not going to help Paul. But Paul knew something I guess they didn't. Throws himself on the young man and put his arms around him. He says, don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. We're alarmed because we just saw him dead. Don't be alarmed. He's alive. No, he's not, Paul. We just picked him up dead. No, he's alive. Don't be alarmed. So the power of God through Paul's faith raises this boy Eutychus from the dead, like on the spot. So They celebrate and have a party because Eutychus is alive, and they thank God, and they pray, and they write thank you notes to Paul's, I don't know, they write thank you notes to Paul. No. Paul goes right back up. Look what it says. He's alive. Then he went upstairs again and broke bread and ate. Okay. It's kind of weird. I guess he's getting on with life. And after talking until daylight, he left. So he starts talking again, as if he hasn't talked enough. So Paul just keeps going until daylight, and the next day he's going to another far-off place. Like, Paul's crazy. The people took the young man home alive and were greatly comforted. Understatement of the century. Like, I think they were comforted. That was a bad thing, and Paul, through the power of God, took care of that. So this boy falls. He's picked up dead. Without hesitation, Paul runs down, throws himself on him. He's raised from the dead, and Paul says, he's okay. It's just a crazy story. It also, though, shows Paul's great faith. And I pause for a second and just ask you and myself, like, what if we had that kind of faith? What if we had that much faith in God's power? And you just fell out the window. I'm just going to go, it'll be all right. What if we had that faith? So some takeaways I want us to latch on to today. First, when you do sit in a window, strap yourself in. Or if you're sitting in a deer stand in a high place, at an amusement park, use a seatbelt, strap yourself in. Number two, don't fall asleep when I'm talking. Because I don't know. I mean, I have faith. I do. I believe God could raise you from the dead. But I don't know, man. I can't guarantee it. Don't fall asleep while I'm talking, because if something happens, like, I don't know if you're going to be raised from the dead. But seriously, here's the real takeaway. I got one real takeaway here, guys. It's this word that sticks out to me from this story. The word is not specifically stated in there, but it's all in there. And then the word is urgency. You guys know what that means? Urgency? Like a sense of this is really important. This is really crucial, but also a sense of right nowness, a sense of very soon. So, goofy example, but it works. I don't know if you've ever been in a store somewhere and like all of a sudden you're like, man, I gotta pee. I gotta go. And it's important because you don't want to have an accident in the middle of the store, and it's urgent because you got to go right now. Like, that's what urgency means, right nowness, crucial, and soonness. I see urgency all over the story, and the people in the attic who are listening to the story, or to Paul's teaching. I see urgency in Paul as he's teaching right up until the very last minute before he goes. The time for him was right now. I mean, if this story is true, and I believe that it is, and let's just say that it is, just go with me, then these people are nuts. They're nuts to be doing this, because the Roman Empire doesn't like people meeting like this. It's suspicious. They don't like suspicion. And to listen to that guy drone on and on until people fall asleep all night, past midnight into the next morning before he leaves, and to keep doing that after this boy dies. Like, what's going on? This is crazy. What's going on is that Jesus is real. And he's on the move. And he's up to something big, and they are sold out to it. And they have this sense of urgency that they need to do all they can right now to follow Jesus. So students, what happens to us, though, is like the boy in the window, Eutychus, we've often been lulled to sleep. Maybe we're lulled to sleep right now. We're thinking about what's for lunch. Maybe we're thinking about the new Switch out there, or our level of accomplishment in a video game last night when we stayed up way too late before church on a Saturday night. We're lulled to sleep by our attraction to a boy or a girl that we like, by our sports competitions, our performances, our perfectionism in school, the hamster wheel of success. We're just lulled to sleep by these things being the most important. We're lulled to sleep by sin, by habitually doing what God has said, please don't do that, it's not good for you. Please don't do that. I'm just asking you to trust me. Please don't do that. And we do it anyway. Guys, we're falling asleep. But what if in the midst of all of that, what if Jesus came back tomorrow? Because that's how these folks were living. That's why, if you're wondering, why did they do, that's why they were living like that. Because they truly believed that at any moment Jesus might come back tomorrow. Guys, it's a fallacy. It's a lie to think, well, it didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen today. It's not happening right now. That's bad logic. God promises it's going to be like a thief in the night. All of a sudden, the sky's going to crack open and Jesus is going to return. And what are we going to be doing? Are we going to be ready for him when he returns? Man, they lived in that day like it was all that mattered, and like he was going to come back right then. Or what if Jesus came back right now? Okay, he didn't, but what if it's right now? or right now. That's how they lived. Or what's more, what if you or I, again, what if we slip off the tailgate today and our life is required of us, as it could all change in an instant? And the question for us today is, are we ready? Or do we live with a sense of urgency? 20 years ago yesterday, I remember exactly where I was. I remember the phone call. I remember seeing it on the TV when 2 planes crashed into 2 towers of the World Trade Center. And of course, in an instant, the world was changed forever. And we're still unwinding that, are we not, 20 years later? That quick. Guys, our response is urgent. What Jesus is up to is urgent. So it's like you and I pulled away from God and did what he said not to do, and we fell on our faces in sin, which leads to death. And God looked at that and said, that's not okay with me. That distance that they just put between me and them, I'm going to do something about that right now. And so Jesus came down, God in the form of flesh, crawled down, climbed down, ran down, jumped down, all the stories from heaven, all the levels, all the way down to earth. And he threw himself on my sinful body, dead in sin. And he said, no, this one's mine. This one is mine. He's alive. He's okay. God, he's coming back to you. Guys, if you do know Jesus, then now is the time for you and I to live like we know Jesus and to live with a sense of urgency, like it's important. It's the most important thing ever, and it needs to happen right now. If you don't know Jesus, you got to deal with this Jesus guy, with this question. Is he who he says he is, or is he not? You got to deal with this. And there's no better time than now. And if that is you, we're here to talk to your life group leader, staff, myself, Nathan, others. We're here to talk to you, walk with you through that. You can also respond, dogwood.church/commit, 2 M's and 1 T's, /commit. And let us know that you're thinking of it. We can help you with questions that you might have. Do not delay. So today is about the window. And if you are on the outside looking into this Jesus story, we want you to sit in our window. This is not a closed clique. We invite you to peer in and see if this might be a family that you'd want to be a part of. And we pray that it is. And we're here to love you through it. Students, the time is now. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this day. God, thank you that on this day, on this very day, your grace covers my sin. Your grace is sufficient, and it changes my death into a life eternal with you. God, I pray that I will live with that sense of importance, that you are all that matters in this world, so important that I would change my behavior because it's better for me and because you ask me to and because it's an example to others, because it's a fuller life. God, I pray that on this day I would welcome others into your kingdom and tell them about you because, man, if this is the gift that matters, if this is the time, if now is the time, if you might come back any moment, then why would I ever even think about waiting? God, I pray that I will live with a sense of urgency that we see in this story, this crazy story. God, what if my life looked like that? If I was just busy telling people about you and loving people into your kingdom. God, I pray that is in all of our hearts this morning as we break up into our groups and learn more about you. Through Jesus we pray.